Paupergeddon was massive. Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I'm your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the sacred cat himself, Reese.
Hello.
Before we start, please do not forget to rate us 5 stars on Spotify, and of course, give the Casting Commons Twitter or X a follow. And of course, do not forget to join the Discord, where you can be part of submitting hot takes, part of giveaways, and of course, chatting crap about Pauper with us. Of course. Just a note, obviously we're going to dive straight into it, because obviously, of course, Paupergeddon was this weekend. The biggest Pauper event, I believe, in the world ever. It beat the previous one pre-COVID. Of 1,000, I think, 76 players or something along them lines. I'm just going to scroll down and double check now. 1,076 confirmed players, which is absolutely crazy.
Just in the main event as well.
Yeah, just
Obviously,
in the
there's
main event.
more people there doing other stuff.
But yeah, great to see, of course. Absolutely mega. 10-year anniversary as well. Kudos to the Liga Pauper Italia for growing such an amazing event. And but yeah. So, again, before we move on, we're obviously going to do the little draw. There's also a good thing to remember. Drawing out the hot take giveaways, things that we do. We've been collecting the names, obviously people who've been partaking in the giveaway. And the winners of this month's draw for the player points is Ozzy. I will DM you after recording this. And Card Market, I forget what it is. Credit, that's the word. Man, I'm losing my mind. Is Marcin Zeeken. So congratulations to both of you. I will speak to you after this and get the relevant information, and we will go from there. Sweet. Moving on to some tournament news. I kind of just want to whiz by this because we've obviously got a lot to talk about. We have the 3 challenges as well as Paupergeddon. There is a top Pauper player as well event, which was just a highlight, was won by FAMS. Just to clarify, that was on the Friday. We won't be covering that because, well, we've got too much else to cover. If we're going on size, we'd have to sack off the challenges and literally cover every single side event in Paupergeddon. So, yeah, just going to cover the main event. But, firstly, just to shout out, obviously, the Common Clash on August the 9th at Firestorm Games in Cardiff. That is a box will be won for first, and if it reaches over 32 players, the event it will get an entry to nationals. So please check that out. Link is in the description. The other one is the upstate New York. The second one is in Rochester on August the 9th as well. So if you are interested in that, it is in a brewery. Always a good bonus. And yeah, it'd be a great event. Obviously, the first one was incredible, and their charity event as well was a really good turnout too. So I'd really recommend doing that. Mitch is on an absolute tear in representing the US, so kudos to them. So first of all, we're going to get probably the less exciting stuff out the way, let's be honest. We'll do the challenges first. We are going to start off with obviously the Friday challenge and then go through the Sunday.
Yeah, so Friday the 4th of July, 51 players. First was Mono Blue Terror. Second was Dredge. Third, Grix Affinity. Fourth, Borosynth. Fifth, Rakdos Madness. Sixth, White Weenie. Seventh, Mono Red Madness. And eighth, second copy of Rakdos Madness. And then the 2 near misses, 9th was Mono Blue Terror and 10th was Jund Wildfire. Again, I think there's quite a few interesting bits. Like they're not new decks really. They're more old decks that we're seeing make a resurgence, but some of them are trying a few new interesting things. The first one I thought we should highlight is the Dredge list in second. Obviously gone the way of the Town Greeters and Set Wayfinders. Actually only on 3 Circle of the Land Druids, but that's to fit in extra 2 Mezfiends out of the sideboard into the main. That's basically, I think, at a cost of a Circle of the Land Druid and a 3rd Gnaw in the main. But then the sideboard is where it gets quite interesting because there's 3 Wreckage Wickerfolk in the sideboard, which is pretty sick. It's a pretty cool tech in Dredge. It's sort of I guess it's filling the role of this, like, say, a Wayfinder slot, but is also just really good against, like, Fae or mono red synth.
Hmm. I'm a big fan of Wreckage Wicked. I tried it in Gardens as like an Augur Bolas sort of style card, and it really did overperform against Fair. Being a 1/3 flyer was pretty incredible, to be fair. So I'm kind of not. I'm not surprised, but I am also surprised because, especially since we've had Town Greeter, Circle of Land Druid make its way as a mainstay, like everything just mills for. So finding a place for your sideboard to be, oh, this is for Fair, is an interesting one. I don't know if it is better or worse than Desert and Fang Dragon, but overall it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird one because obviously Desert is probably better in the long run, but also Desert doesn't fill your graveyard. So what you'll be like cutting lands for deserts essentially and making your mana a bit worse. Where this, you're probably just cutting something like the Circle of Land Druids, and it sort of fills the same role. Slightly worse at the mill part, but much better at the block and fairies part. So I guess it would, unlike Desert, allow you to still just progress your game plan normally. Where Desert, you sort of just play it and then sit there until you draw some more cards to progress your game plan.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, to be fair. Obviously, as well, the good thing about it, weirdly, is it's Seville 2 in a post-board game as well.
Yeah.
Which is also very relevant. Obviously, all the other cards mill. And as much as you probably dredge less post-board games, because you obviously just want to draw your sideboard cards, you want to, not just get absolutely stone-colded by a relic or whatever. The fact that this gets a Seville 2 is pretty strong. And obviously lowers the risk of, I generally find myself, obviously you'll cast your Sit Away Finders and your Town Greeters to make sure you're hitting your land drops. And on that way, there is sometimes you'll lose them games because you've milled 2 or 3 lot lefts, or one too many lot left giants, or one too many of other cards. But obviously this prevents that as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's got the stapled on bonus of being a creature in dredge, so you can exhume it, you can dread return it, you can sack it to dread return something else, you can it counts for like your lot left giants and stuff. So yeah, a pretty sweet one. Obviously interesting that it has found space, but Fair's sort of picked up quite a lot lately. As well as just some other outside aggro decks, like Rally Red has obviously sort of seen a bit of resurgence along with Synth, where I imagine this guy's also finding that matchup just being a 1/3 and being able to block everything.
Yeah.
And not die to lava darts.
Yes, it's a very big pad. Anything else you want to cover?
Yeah, I guess moving on from that, obviously Luffy's still jamming Grixis Affinity with Rodin, which is cool to see. Card is sweet. And then the only other thing really was the Boros Synth just appearing again, sort of still just a pretty classic Boros Synth list, with the only sort of standout being 3 relics in the main, which I believe we have seen before, quite a while ago anyway. But yeah, no new cards, just Boros Synth being Boros Synth.
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting one. I'm assuming this comes off the back of also the Grixis Affinity sort of online resurgence, right? Obviously, you can play this deck quite well. Obviously, it's got Gorilla Shamans in the sideboard. The relics in the main are always pretty good against... Well, they're just generally good against the field, right? You've got Terra, you've got Jump Wildfire and all that sort of stuff where they're going to Blood Fountain stuff back. But then, obviously, you are just a core Skyfisher deck, so you're going to do pretty good things eventually. You're durdling the game to a late game, you just need to not die with the relic. So that's kind of why that slides in there.
I guess that is something to highlight. The Gorilla Shaman is in a sideboard off a deck at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is something we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, the final thing really for me is just Medvedev's Madness Burn list is quite an interesting one.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's not as Medvedev out the way as we would normally expect. The main changes, I think, is basically he's gone up to 4 Gutter Snipes and 4 Fire Blasts in the main at the cost of 2 Highway Robberies. So he's only actually got 6 of the 2 mana draw 2s and then 4 Lutons, which is interesting. But then the sideboard is even more interesting. It's got the 8 Pyroblast effects, which is sort of becoming a bit of a mainstay now in this deck online, just because of all the Fey and Terror. But the other 7 slots are 4 Martyr of Ashes, which is a 1-mana 1/1. You can pay 2 and reveal a bunch of red cards from your hand, and it basically rafts the board for that much damage. And then 3 Mutagenic Growths, which I wasn't really sure what to make of. Like, I guess, is it for like a Lightning Bolt mirror where you want your Gutter Snipes to survive Lightning Bolt, was my main thought.
Sort of makes sense, I guess.
But then you're in a red mirror and dealing 2 damage to yourself.
I guess it's one of them things that if you're ahead and you go Gutter Snipe pass, they go bolt it, you mutagenic it, and then it's like, okay, I guess I'll win now because my Gutter Snipe is now alive. I guess...
suppose it has quite a good play pattern. Like if you are on the play, for example, you turn 2 Flame Breather against another red deck, you can just jam that there, and then they untap and like Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt it, and you can just pay 2 and keep it alive and ping them for 1. And then they either have to commit another burn spell, which is at a premium, or you've got a Flame Breather for a turn of untapped mana, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
But yeah, very, very Medvedev card to put in the sideboard.
Yeah.
So
I also love the sideboards of Medvedev's because it's like, it's a rule, like it must be a absolutely incredible card if it costs 2. Because everything always costs 1. All the time. It's like, my sideboard must cost 1. Must be cheap. Very amusing. But Martyr of Ashes is a pretty cool one. Cool wrath effect.
I'm not sure how necessary it is. Like, I've found that the creature decks that you would think of, I guess, like White Weenie and Elves are like basically free matchups anyway. I guess it sort of has a weird thing of like you can go quite high and kill Bogles with it. Like it's a effect that you don't need like turn 1 or turn 2 on a Bogle. You can play it and then crack it immediately and do like 6 to them. So like turn 3, turn 4, you can probably still kill something that's suited up.
Yeah. I guess it
I
also depends.
I don't know how much you want a sideboard for that matchup. So
it also depends on how they take the matchup as well, right? Because obviously, me and you've spoke about how we both take this deck post board and both take it in both 2 completely different directions.
Yeah.
But then if he takes it very much heavily on the snacker side of thing and try and snacker the way out and then chip them with that and then burn them out, this gets really good in like the sort of pseudo mirror. Like they're all trying to like Gutter Snipe and Flame Breather and stuff, and then you just kill them all and your snackers are still alive. Is an interesting thought. Or Rally Red for the same principle as well.
Although if you're getting a Flame Breather and a Gutter Snipe, I'm surprised you're still alive.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But
yeah, it is a cool one. Interesting to see what Medvedev thought of it, to be honest.
You sure?
Other than that, there was nothing really else I wanted to mention. I don't know if there's something you want to pull up.
Absolutely.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Moving on then to the Saturday challenge, which was absolutely minute because everyone was watching or playing in Paupergeddon. There was only 36 players on the 5th of July.
Nearly did not fail.
Yeah, very close. First was Green Black Gardens. Second was Grixis Affinity. Third was White Weenie. Fourth was Elves. Fifth was Red Black Madness. Sixth was Mono Blue Fair. Seventh was Rakdos Madness. And eighth was Mono Red Synth. And then the 2 near misses. Ninth was Mono Blue Fair again. And 10th was Rakdos Madness again.
Yes.
Rakdos Madness really just been picking up lately. Also, this one had a fodder tosser in, which is something I haven't seen in a long time.
As soon as I seen it, I was like, that is great.
That was like the first iterations of Rakdos Madness had that card in.
And a Stormshriek Feral as well.
Yeah. I guess, talking about this, the 5th place Rakdos Madness deck. Other than that, there wasn't actually anything that strange. There was a one of End the Festivities, which sort of comes in and out. I think, again, it basically came at the cost of, like, highway robberies, right? For the fodder tosser and feral.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Chains
then the sideboard.
by the looks of the other one. Comparing the other one, that is, sorry. Maybe Chain Lightning. They don't run Chain, do they? No. Yeah, so it might, maybe...
Not usually, no. I think, yeah. Yeah.
I'm literally just
Like
looking at the
it's like
seventh
trimmed
place
in it.
list. Looks like it's the seventh place list's running an end of festivities and 2 chains, man.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I guess it's maybe at the cost of the 2 burn spells, which
Yeah.
sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
But then the feral looks like a better replacement for
Highway
a
robbery.
2-mana draw 2 than
Yeah.
a burn spell. But
Mm.
yeah, Fodder Tosser,
Strange.
interesting one.
Always a big fan of Fodder Tosser. I do actually think the card is not awful either. I do think obviously the deck's got a lot more tools lately to basically outclass this, but yeah, I ultimately think it's not even. I wouldn't even hit it as a sideboard option for like control decks as a permanent way because you're not playing. You're not playing like artifact packages anymore, so no one's bringing an artifact hit against you, like all that sort of stuff. Like this artifact will just sit on the board and just shoot things for 2. But again, you've got a lot more tools since Fodder Tosser was played. Like obviously, Snacker, Grab the Prize, all these cards are new, and finding space for these is pretty hard.
Yeah, I think it's just so much easier to discard cards as well. Like,
Yeah,
you're never really short of a way to discard
Mm.
something. But yeah, it is a sweet one. Obviously, the repeatable damage, like if you do verse control, is really good. But again, I don't think between Kitchen Imp, Snacker, and the burn package, I don't think you really struggle for repeatable damage that much in
No.
Madness anyway.
For sure.
The White Weenie deck that came third was quite interesting as well, playing with some odd numbers. Obviously fully on the Choco Mog plan, which seems like the new spice to be on. One of Hinterland Sanctifier, which is the rabbit soul sister. Only 3 Thraben Charms and then 2 Remorsian Rallies, which is again sort of extra pump, but no Guardian's Pledge. So it seems like the Chocomog is replacing the Guardian's Pledge, but then you still want some more pump in the form of Remorsian Rally.
I guess yeah, it's a mini. Obviously it's like a mini rat, like a Guardian's Pledge, right? But I guess it's quite important that you can Chocomog and then save your Chocomog from a bolt, which seems pretty important. I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of the play pattern. Sort of that's why you've got the 3 strands, 2 rallies, like doubles up, right? Obviously you can Rafine Inform into discarding a strands or have Chocomog with rally up, I guess.
From the games I've played against White Weenie, the biggest downside of the Chocomog rather than the Guardian's Pledge is that it does just die to Lightning Bolt really easily. The pump, although it's good, it's never really a game-ending pump. It needs to like trigger more than one as it's supposed to with the Saga. It needs to trigger like multiple times to do that. So when it gets played and then just bolted immediately, it's it doesn't look good for the White Weenie, but as they're left with now a bunch of 1/1s again or 1/2s.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like the Sanctifier, to be fair, as well. I like that in the list. I also like the I didn't mind the list that ran Sanctifier and both Inspectors and then like cut on Lunarch Veterans. So like you were kind of like -1/-1 proof, like End of Festivities and Lava Dart proof. It sort of seemed to perform pretty well. But obviously this pilot's got both in.
I do like that idea, especially with the Remorsian Rallies on top as well. Because I do think, although it has gone up on 1/2s now, like you say, there's still a lot of room for Lava Dart to just work really well, like the Rafine's Informant with the trigger on the stack, for example, or the being able to kill the Lunarch Veterans once you've committed them to casting something. Whereas, just switching those to Hinterland Sanctifiers and basically making the only Lava Dart target the Rafine's Informant does sound quite appealing.
Yeah, interesting that they've managed to get 5 removal spells here as well in the main. They've got 3 Thraben Charms and 2 Journeys, which is pretty interesting. I don't hate that as well. I think Journey's pretty well positioned right now as a cleaner answer to Terror, which is pretty nice. So, but yeah, pretty solid.
And then the final thing I wanted to mention on this one is just Noob's first place list, which was like a classic Gardens, I guess, which is something again we haven't seen in quite a while. Just like the double Avenging Hunter, double Thorn of the Black Rose, 3 Trawler Khazad-dûms. That's it, Gardens list. Couple of campfires in the main as well. And then just a pile of removal, like the old days of Gardens, Cast Downs, Defiles, Spinning Darknesses, Tide and Blades, basically only missing the Snuff Outs, which obviously aren't as good or aren't as needed anymore that Brood Scale's gone.
Yeah. No, I think it's a pretty solid list. It does look like it folds to quite a bit of combo, to be fair, but doesn't look worse, like the worst position into the aggro decks and also the Jund Wildfire decks. So seems pretty solid all around.
Yeah, I think obviously it looks tough against the Mono Red Madness list, and hence the campfires and then quad weathers in the main. But against High Tide as well, like you've got 3 Duresses in the main, but then basically nothing and not a quick clock. So I can't imagine that's a particularly pleasant matchup.
Which I'm also quite surprised at the lack of last rights. To be fair, out of the sideboard or anything to try and rip a High Tide player's hand apart.
Yeah, maybe give you some game there.
But yeah, but seems fair. Like obviously you are not short of cards that you can't sideboard out, as well. So like post board, you could easily have like 3 or 4 last rights and literally have still a dead hand, to the point where you can I will happily discard my hand and I will redraw better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But pretty interesting. I really like, obviously, I'm all for the old school Gardens, kill them with Avenging Hunter and Troll. Much more to my play style than the modern day mid-range decks we're on now.
Is it bringing you back?
Bringing me back. I probably won't play it, to be fair, because I still can't be bothered with 3-hour leagues anymore, but yeah. But yeah, pretty solid deck.
Anything else on the Saturday?
I don't think so. The Elves list. I just want to touch on the Elves list. Went back to Spider Silk Armor in the sideboard with 2 Avenging Hunters. So Tsubasa Cat, who's a well-known vintage player, apparently, joined the Fam Discord yesterday, and I found that out. But they played Elves here, and they played the list that basically, I see this is the Baycall list, but instead of the 3 vines, they've got 2 Avenger Hunters and a Crash and Drawbridge. There.
Yeah, the mono green version.
The mono green version. And then basically they've put 2 Avenger Hunters and 2 Spider Silk Armors in the sideboard. Along with, I guess, 2 Virid Longbows. I guess it's fairly sort of normal nowadays. But
it does seem pretty queued up to having sideboard hit against Fear. Obviously, we've seen 4 Vitagazi Inspectors before. This one's only got 2. But then to have the double Spider Silk Armor and the 2 Longbows as well. Obviously, you lose out a bit main deck not having the Jesper Sentinels. But then, yeah, it seems to have definitely tried to make up for that in the board with all that.
Yeah. But yeah. Also makes it less stone cold dead to Madness as well. You mean you don't instantly die to all the darts, just slightly?
Yeah, with the Spider Silks, yeah.
Pretty interesting, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's close to just being an auto include, but it's just like half a mana too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, there's just games in Elves where you just never reach 3 mana if they kill all you guys.
Yeah. But although this mono green list is sort of a lot easier to do that, like if you get a Landwire Elf to stick for a turn, you're pretty much there, right? And you've got 10 of them, so
yeah,
maybe a bit more feasible than the multicolored list.
Very true. But yeah, nothing else other than that.
Sweet. Moving on to the Sunday. The Sunday challenge was the 6th of June, 66 players, so somewhat back to normal, but still maybe a little smaller than we usually see. There was a big Pauper event on at that weekend, so that might be why. First place was Mono Red Madness, which was myself. Second place was Rakdos Madness. Third place was Green Black Fog, which had 69 cards in for some reason, which I didn't notice. Fourth place was Rakdos Madness again. Fifth place was High Tide. Sixth place was Mono Blue Terror. Seventh place was Jund Wildfire, and 8th was Grixis Affinity. And then the 2 near misses. 9th was Ponza, and 10th was another copy of High Tide.
Oh snap! Ban it.
So after just not really being there, High Tide just nearly puts 2 in the top 10 of the biggest challenge of the weekend, which is quite interesting.
Just before we dive in, I just also want to mention that Noob came 11th again with
Yeah.
Gardens, but like almost a completely different sort of style of it. It's got 3 Trolls, 2 Crypt Rats, and that's its sort of win con. So it's sort of like completely changed that side of things. It's got a win
Yeah, I
with
was
4 Titan Blade.
surprised to see his deck on the Saturday because I played against him in this challenge and seen the Crypt Rats and just like, oh, he's back on like Crypt Rats Gardens. Then I seen the list on Saturday. I was like, that's not what I've just seen. Yeah, 61 cards as well in this list, which is interesting. I guess the one campfire, the second campfire is uncuttable, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
2 heat harvest as well.
I spent 30 ticks on that card. I'm not cutting it.
two heat harvest as well, sort of upping the life gain a little bit. I know you're quite a fan of that card.
Big fan of a heat harvest. 4's too many, but yeah, 2's a nice number. Nice round number. Yeah.
Trying to see what else has changed. There's no spinning darknesses anymore either.
No duresses in the main either.
Yeah.
They've been moved to the side.
So just committed to being called to High Tide, I guess.
Yeah.
Game 1.
Pretty much. Pretty interesting. Guess your game plan is I avoid High Tide, but sure. But went to the Titan Blades, went up to 4 as well, so just expecting more and more terror, I'm guessing.
Terror.
Yeah, pretty interesting, for sure.
Yeah. Other list-wise, my list is not interesting, I don't think, in the slightest. It's what I would consider a stock mono red madness. Maybe the 2 Chain Lightning should be 2 Lutons, but outside of that, I think it's basically stock.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'd say. Is I think I would class stock as like Bongo's list with 4 Lutons, 4 grabs, 4 highways. But yeah, that's you literally add 2 Chain Lightnings over 2 Lutons.
Which is basically because I always get Luton stuck in my hand and I hate it. So I was just that's like, fair. I do not need 4 of this card. all that happens is I discard 1 Luton to the other Luton and wish it was something else. And then yes, sideboard just the 7 Pyroblasts, 4 Serum Blades, 4 Smash. I guess you could swap a Smash for another Reb or a Serum Blaze for another Reb, but apart from that, I would say it's pretty expected sideboard. Probably the most interesting deck is the 3rd place, the Baby Soft Black Green Fog.
Before we do cover that though, I do want to know, obviously, how did you beat the 2nd player? How did you beat the Madness? As if you are a mono red Madness player, everybody knows that this matchup is incredibly difficult. So you need to share your secrets. These are your secrets.
You just don't mulligan to oblivion. I actually lost to them in the Swiss. Because it's a bad matchup, and then game 1 I'm multi 5, and then game 2 I'm multi 5. So if you just gotta draw well and be lucky basically to beat Red Black Madness. Otherwise,
hope they don't find the life game burn spells, I guess, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not like unwinnable, but yeah, it is. You have to be pretty fast and do your thing pretty fast.
Okay, carry on.
Because their burn spells gain life and yours don't. The 3rd place Baby Soft Black Green Fog list being 69 cards.
Nice.
Not sure why. Maybe just because they can. 26 lands, 26 instants. A single Stream of Thought as a win condition outside the Crypt Rats. Or maybe that's they have to shuffle their own deck back in after they've drew all 69 cards.
Yeah, it's a very odd one.
I don't actually know, like, all the cards in it just seem like cards that are in Black Green Fog, so I don't know if just the numbers are increased to get the extra cards or what.
I think it's just the numbers, right? Because I don't think they run 4 Crypt Rats normally. I think they run like maybe 2 or maybe even 3. Probably, I'm guessing they've got more fogs in than normal. Yeah. Maybe the respite and the tangles aren't normally the numbers they are there. I don't know.
It's also quite funny in the mana base. There's a 1 Thrive and Moor. which is the gate without the gate subtype, but
Yeah.
it's because they've got already 4 of the black gate and 4 of the green gate, so they've just run out of gates. So they have to play the non-gate for the non-bow.
Surely you would just run the blue one.
Well, yeah, possibly, and just always name black or green.
Why don't you just run the black green Golgari gate? Like actual Golgari gate?
Because what if you want blue?
Then you've the other 8 name it.
Well, yeah, Golgari gate's probably a shout, but they do have Pyroblasts and Red Blasts and a Murmur Mystic in the sideboard as well. Although, like you say, yeah, you have a lot of other sources already. So does it matter if that one doesn't do that?
Maybe because they've got 69 cards, so they can't consistently find the black dragon gates and the mana gates. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know what would be best, either the blue one or the red one for sideboard cards, but or just the actual Golgari gate.
Pretty funny.
But yeah, funny list.
But a funny thing, I don't know if you've ever seen, I watched a goldfish video like a few months ago. I got clickbaited into the title, and it was quite an interesting thought, right? Which sort of stems me into this. It is semi-tangential related. Basically, they played a 75 card main deck and a 0 card sideboard. So that basically what they did is they de-sideboarded games 2 and 3 was the idea for the video. Right? So you could play like, I don't know, like it was standard or something. So I'm assuming like, edicts or wrath effects are bad against control and all that sort of stuff. So you just took your wrath effects out and all that sort of stuff. You took your point removal out against certain decks. I was quite sad when I seen that it was 69 cards, because I seen on Kirby's thing that it was 69. I was like, at least tell me they've got like, 10 cards, 8 cards sideboard so they can actually de-sideboard. Like, there's not enough stuff to take all the fogs out when fog's bad, for example. Now, because they've got even more fogs. It's like so odd. Like, why not have like less so you can go to, I don't know, 63 cards or something? It's a strange thing to go that far up and then you're stuck with 69 cards.
But 69's funny.
Yeah, well, I guess. Nice.
I guess that's the idea.
Yeah, I can win with a nice deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair. Congrats on them coming third, I guess, with a 69 card deck, so the meme lives on.
Other than that, the 5th place High Tide list is not Callie's list. It's a different one. It's got the full 4 Reach for Mists and the Petals of Insight, as well as a Compulsive Research, which I'm assuming is instead of the Deep Analysis, as the way, because it can target anyone. So it's a draw spell that you can play on yourself, but then you can also play it on your opponent. I'm assuming you basically, once you're winning, aren't you? So you can just shuffle it back in and draw it again and then target them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it doesn't have flashback. Obviously, it sees a lot more cards initially, like for a smaller cost than Deep Analysis. So when you're comboing off, you've probably already played your land, so you're going to be able to discard a land pretty easy. So it's probably quite good in that aspect, or that respect.
When I actually think about it, I guess obviously if you're going off, and you're against a deck, I guess the thing is, obviously, if you're against a deck where you don't need to make them draw, like in a lot of circumstances, you can literally just deck them and pass. I guess, obviously, Deep Analysis sees more cards throughout the whole thing, I guess. Obviously, you can just flash it back on yourself, because you don't need to just pass the turn, which is pretty interesting. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. I literally just assumed Deep Analysis was just the best target player draws X cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Other than that, it's sort of just general High Tide. There's a 1-of Giga Drouse, a couple of pieces of the puzzle, a couple of Stream of Thoughts. There's none of the Return at Instant or Sorcery from your graveyard.
Flood of Recollection.
Yeah. But I don't know, that seems to have fallen out of favour a bit now once people have realised you just loop and Stream of Thought yourself and forever. Other than that, I don't think there was particularly anything else I want to mention other than Luffy as top 8'd all 3 challenges with the exact same affinity list.
Obviously, because that's twofold. 1, Luffy's the GOAT with affinity and he's figured out his list. And then 2, all his competition was at a bigger event, clearly. That was obviously what happened. No, but congrats on him. Obviously, I really like this list, like the affinity list that is built up. Like I really like Black Mage's Rod in affinity, so it's pretty cool to see. Be interesting. I'm assuming it's now made the cut. It's had the Hunter's Blowgun effect. You know, it's appeared in a 3 as a 3 of, and it's staying there, and it's currently now that's it. It's cemented in the Luffy list. Which is pretty cool.
I played it at F&M last week, and it did feel really good, to be fair, in the deck. The list definitely seemed to have its normal problems of you draw 12 cards and 10 of them are lands. But apart from that, yeah, it felt really good. It did stacks of damage, and then you could just sack all the different parts off if you needed to.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Anything else to cover for the Sunday?
No, I'm happy to move on to Paupergeddon.
Do you want to add any closing thoughts on your event before we move on? Obviously, taking the whole thing down.
Yeah, it was good. It was very late. Like, I was like, oh, I may as well play this because I'm sort of not doing anything. And then I was in the top 8 and it was like 1 a.m. I was like, I wish I'd just not played this. It did go on for a while. Obviously, there was 66 players, so it ended up being 7 rounds. And then obviously the top 8 as well, because we were actually playing Fortnite in between rounds. And
yeah, we were.
I initially thought I was going to come 9th on the breakers because I lost round 1. But then ended up coming 8th, so had to play. Yeah, it was good. The list, Mono Red Madness, is cracked. If you want to play an aggro deck, or aggro combo deck, I guess I would call it. It's the one I would recommend to everyone. My only losses basically were to Red Black Madness, which is a really bad matchup, and mulliganed, and then to Affinity round 1, where I basically just played like an absolute monk. And my brain just was not activated at all.
Too late in the day.
I was just like, yeah, I need a break. I need to have a break and then get back for round 2.
Well, so yeah, pretty good. I always said it was quite interesting as well. I always find it funny that it's very rare that me and you were on the same deck. Like if I was to take a deck to an event, it would be that deck. Maybe not the exact list, but I'd definitely take that deck.
Rude.
Well, I'm just saying.
Put Chain Lightning in. It's good.
I'm not saying it isn't, but I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd play that exact list, but yeah, I definitely. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that. Yeah, it's very rare that we're on the same deck. It definitely it appeals to everyone, I think.
Yeah, I find it quite funny that Callie really likes it as well. Obviously, his version is quite a bit different, but it's still sort of the same concept. But usually, between the 3 of us, I'm usually on an aggro deck. You're usually on a mid-range control deck, and Callie's usually on a combo deck. But then we've all sort of settled on the same deck, which is quite funny.
The deck's actually that broken that the small differences between the lists are sort of irrelevant because the deck's just cracked.
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah. Anyways, on that, we will move to what everyone here is here for, and that is Paupergeddon. We'll do the top 16. Just literally read through the top 16. This is sort of me not just saying what we're doing, it's also probably a reminder telling Reese what to read out at the same time. But yeah, and then we'll obviously just go through them. Probably go 16 up, I think. Maybe it might be the best way of doing it. So,
yeah, it was pretty stacked, to be fair, with variety. Like, I fully expected going in Jund Wildfire to just be everywhere. And to be fair, it was absolutely everywhere, and then just did not convert at all to day 2, which is the best thing I've ever seen.
Just for reference, sort of shilling myself, I have released a video today and it's literally titled, like, today recording, called The Jund Problem, and I literally dive into why it failed at Paupergeddon. Just so you know. Chilling.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. I fully expected it to be at least half of the top 8. But yeah, it was by far the most played deck. I think it was was it 3 times the next most played deck on day 1? But then converted really badly. It was like the 3rd most played deck on day 2.
I think it was 176 is sticking into my head for some reason. I'm just scrolling down Reddit I did see it on Reddit, so carry on. I'll let you do the top 16 while I'm scrolling.
Yeah, anyway, so that basically, that bad conversion ended up in a lot of variety in the top 16, which is cool. So first place was Corgates, out of nowhere. Second place was Mono Blue Terror. Third place was Rally Red. Fourth place was Ultratron. Fifth place was Mono Blue Terror. Sixth and seventh place were both Red Green Ramp, and eighth place was Madu Synth. And then the near misses, or the rest of the top 16. Ninth place was Mono Red Dredge. 10th place was our first Jund Wildfire. 11th place was Blue Red Scred. 12th was Mono Blue Fear. 13th was High Tide. 14th was Mono Blue Terror. 15th and 16th were two fans decks, one of which I believe 16th was playing High Tide as well. So yeah, pretty mixed up. Obviously, pretty good showing from Mono Blue Terror as well, which is good to see, because basically last Geddon it was completely just dead in the water with Brood Skill. Like, it was probably the worst performing deck of that event. But yeah, first place from Corgates is a spicy one.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially as I think like 4 people or something played it at the event, and that was it. Like, it was one of the least
really
played
low,
decks.
Yeah. It was something really low. Like, I don't know if 4 people played it entirely. I know, like, I think it was like 4 or 3 day 2 or something ridiculously low. And ended up taking the whole thing away, which is pretty sweet. Because it's just like it's just like a deck that's just not really played that often. There's a few people that still play it, like die hard play it, all that sort of thing. But yeah, pretty sweet to see.
So I guess if we pull some decks out of 9th through 16th first that you want to touch on.
Yes, I'm on the wrong tab.
I imagine Dredge is like the top of that list, but I don't know if there's any others.
Before we start, obviously, I just thought I've got the thing up. So 165 players registered Jund Wildfire in day 1, which the next most played deck after that was Mono Red Synth at 96, but that's also lumbered in with Rally Red well, and Mono Red Synth. So that's technically 2 archetypes to a degree are in one. Then you've got 80 on Mono Blue Fear, and 63 on Mono Blue Terror, and 72 on Mono Red Madness.
So it was twice as much basically as the next most played deck.
And then the conversion rate it had from 165 players in day 1, it had 19 in day 2, which is mental. That is crazy to me.
It's pretty shameful, that, I'm not gonna lie.
For reference, the highest deck with the highest conversion rate was Blue White Familiars, which I'm not surprised about how many people played it, because there's usually A, diehard fans, and B, it won on the Friday. So it had 20 players in day 1 and 8 of them day 2, so it had a 40% conversion rate, not far off obviously half of them, which is pretty good. The next one was Mono Red
It's an awkward one to gauge that though, because there's so much fewer players playing it than like the top decks. So the conversion rate is, although it was really good to convert 8 people, it obviously looks much better than the next best, which was like Synth or something, was it?
Yeah, so Synth was the next one at 23 pilots day 2'd, and 96 people played the deck, so about 25% of them day 2'd, which is obviously a really good conversion rate as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was essentially the general meta breakdown. It was pretty varied, but obviously you had double playing Jund Wildfire as well, which, to be fair, going into that, I'm not surprised, because it's widely considered to be the best deck. Obviously a lot of people do prefer it around the area of obviously Paupergeddon. Like, it's very popular in Italy, so it's like a double whammy. I'm not really surprised at that. Going into the top 16, just wanted to highlight, obviously, as you said, the Red Dredge. I don't know if we're going to start on there, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, Red Dredge, it looks like almost exactly the same list, if not the exact same list that was in the challenge last week. The only difference, it's looking like it's cut Grab the Prize and a Fiery Temper, I believe, for 2 Burning Inquiries.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty interesting change, especially when we were talking about how bad we think Burning Inquiry is in the list.
Yeah, I am surprised at that, because I do really like Grab the Prize and Fiery Temper as this like burn combo, especially in something like Red Dredge, where 5 points of damage can be the difference between your Lockless Giant killing them and not killing them.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I agree. Otherwise, it looks like basically the same list. It's got the 2 neonates. It's even got the 2 bramble worms in the sideboard
Yeah,
that we discussed last week.
which are terrible. Don't play them.
Um, but yeah, obviously, really, really sweet to see it do so well. It's a shame it didn't top 8. Obviously, it's 9th. It would have been really cool to see something like Red Reg in the top 8, but 9th's close enough, right?
Yeah, close. I think they tweeted and basically said they ID'd and took the risk. So they ID'd last round and took the risk to top 8 and didn't top 8.
Oh,
So that's the only reason why they didn't. So there you go.
You got to get them win rate calculators out before you ID.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one I wanted to touch on is the 11th place, the Blue Red Scred list. Obviously, we've seen Scred sort of making a small resurgence of late in the challenges with Spock piloting it. But this is obviously an interesting list as it's got 3 Torch the Towers in the main. I'm assuming instead of like a couple of lightning bolts, basically, because it only has 2 bolts.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one, right? Because looking at the token, an enchantment, or an artifact. So actually, I don't think it has a way to actually bargain it.
There's the bird tokens, right?
The bird tokens of Murmur Mystic. All right, okay.
But you are right. Other than that, there's nothing else that I can think of.
So it's basically looking to deal 2 damage to a creature and exile it because it doesn't need the bargain for the exile.
Yeah.
So effectively for Snacker, I guess, would be my thought. Is the main thing.
Yeah, it's a strange one, I guess. Like losing out on the extra point of damage is actually quite awkward as well against stuff like Kessig Flamebreather, I guess is the first example that springs to mind.
I guess also any dies triggers as well. So the Clockwork Percussionist.
Oh, Monkey. Yeah, it's pretty good against Monkey.
And then you guess against Red, you're still killing Tomb Raiders still. All that sort of stuff. So that's actually a pretty interesting one, really.
I wonder, I'm assuming, given they've put Torture Tower in the list, Torture Tower is the best version of that effect at common.
I would assume so. That is really interesting. Like I'd never really, obviously I've always obviously just seen, I've seen the card before, but I'd never really thought about it as a shock that exiles.
Yeah, I guess against a lot of the creature decks like Elves and Fae, White Weenie, Mono Red, like it's the 2 damage still picks up most of the stuff that you want.
Yeah.
It gets Lunarks as well out of White Weenie, exiles them so you can't get them back.
Refurbs can't come back off Blood Fountain as well.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, cool one.
That is a very cool one.
Bit of tweak on Blue Red Scred. Other than that, like the list looks fairly normal to me. It's got the 3 Monarch guys, a couple of Murmur Mystics, and 4 Terrors as like the creature package.
Yeah.
As I said, there's only 2 bolts, but that's because there's 3 Torture Towers.
Yep.
Yeah. Other than that, pretty stock, but that's quite a cool tweak.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing to obviously talk through. Obviously, shout out as well to 12th place Skura. Obviously did a good run. As much as I hate the deck, and I know obviously they're big on fairies. Yeah, obviously sick run for them with their own list. Pretty cool. But I don't think there's anything else personally on the rest of the top 16. Obviously, FAM's players did really well, both of them.
Yeah,
incredible. Seems pretty good, well positioned. Obviously, you've got to play really fast with FAMs in general. Obviously, it's a lot easier in paper because you can demonstrate loops a lot easier. But yeah, it's still a deck that if you don't combo off, it can be quite long-winded. Obviously, with ephemerate loops and such. So
yeah. I think the fact that you've got to play fast with FAMs was sort of demonstrated to everyone day one, where Gavin's first round on camera was him playing FAMs against Altatron, I believe. And it was a 1-1 draw round 1.
Yeah. Brutal.
But yeah, to have 20 players enter a 1,070 player event and then have 2 in the top 16 is pretty big.
Yeah. But I think that all round covers the
bottom 8.
top 6. Well, yeah, the bottom 16 or top 16. What am I going to say? Yeah. So on to the top 8. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start from the bottom and work way up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess the Madu Synth at the bottom is probably the standout deck, like in terms of most interesting.
Yeah.
I know it's something you've sort of been playing around with for a while. Is there out that really stands out to you in this list?
Yeah, I think it looks based on how since Black Mage's Rod, I know Lost on Kanto's been brewing with this deck for quite a while. Not the pilot, obviously. I think they're friends. I think based on like how they were talking on Twitter, and they basically played like a Black Mage's Rod, obviously the standard Core Skyfisher Glinthawk, but they basically put it into a Cleanse and Wildfire Shell again, sort of similar, going back to almost where the deck first came from, because that was like the original sort of thing from Hyson, was like a Wildfire Deadly Dispute sort of pile, and it sort of has a similar sort of numbers-ish from there, but obviously fitting Black Mage's Rod. I have played this deck in a league. The deck is very, very strong. The core of the deck is very strong. The Black Mage's Rods are very strong. The Glinthawk Refurbs, all that sort of stuff strong. The Burn package is strong. Like the Boros aspects of it with Black Mage's Rod is strong. The mana advantage from Cleanse and Wildfire is strong. The thing that I don't like about this deck is it opts to have 0 artifact hit in the 75 and 0 Crackland Shamans. That is like the two things that absolutely blow my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's an odd choice. Obviously, Crackland's a pretty easy catch-all to fit in, especially when the main threats in your deck are 12 flying creatures, so they just don't get hit by it. Some of the numbers sort of stood out to me as a bit strange. Again, this deck is not playing full 4 lightning bolts like the blue-red Scred. There's only 3. So 4 Gal Blast, 3 bolts is that burn package that you were talking about. Also a 2 split on the 2 mana black cards of 2 cast downs and 2 fanatical offerings. Sort of seemed a bit of an odd number to come by. 3 Black Mage's Rod seems fine. Like that seems sort of the consensus. So if you have 4, it's generally like too many. It's pretty bad to just draw on an empty hand, for example. But then 1 Thorn of the Black Rose and 1 Akiba Gang in the main deck as well is strange.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, right, is this deck is basically I am going to try and not die to Jund and I'm trying to not die to High Tide is like the big things that I'm like sort of trying to gauge. And that's where the 2 one-offs come in. But then like the 4-3 split on Lightning Bolt and Galvas is not unnormal. Like it's always been like 4-4 was sort of fine, but then I think later on they sort of cut it down to 3 and then ended up adding 2 actual hard removal spells just when creatures got bigger, like Writhing Chrysalis sort of came about. The 2 Fanatical Offerings, well, there used to be like 2 or 3 Deadly Disputes, so I can sort of, like, I'm sort of used, because they're not that, you don't really want to sack your artifacts, you want to keep bouncing them, so they get kind of awkward in too many numbers, so like, yeah, I think the 2 things that stood out to me the 2 things I mentioned, plus the Akiba Gang and Thorn were abysmal when I played them in a league, but that's basically, I didn't verse Jund Wildfire or High Tide.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing that stands out is it sort of looks pretty cold to Riven Chrysalis. Like, you've got 2 cast downs.
Yep. Like,
apart from that, you can't kill it. Really, you've got burn spells, but having to chain multiple burn spells together is tough. And then basically all of your creatures just get completely brick walled by it. You haven't got the Hydra out that Jund has. So yeah, I guess it sort of ties quite well into the first place deck being Core Gates. Is how do you deal with Riven Chrysalis? Oh well, you just hope to not. You just hope to avoid it.
Yeah. Which is not the worst place to be. Like, I think Riven Chrysalis can be a problem, but I guess with this deck and Corgate, just standing there and doing your own thing, eventually you will come out on top in a sort of degree is the idea, I guess. Like, eventually you'll Black Mage Rod them enough that will die.
Yeah.
Is
if they're doing nothing else,
is sort of the idea. And like, especially as I say, with the 1 Thorn and the Akiba Gang, you can maybe rip something out or find your cast down or whatever, and it's just like you just sit there and hope. But yeah, It's definitely an interesting take for sure.
I guess on that topic, going from 8th to 1st for the Colgate, the winner. Another deck that I believe even in the interview at the end, it was like, yeah, I didn't want to play against any Rival Chrysalids. I just want to avoid it. And Jund Wildfire in particular, I guess, but seems like a abysmal matchup for Colgate, hence why we probably haven't seen it in quite a while. But I guess everything else is just pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I guess I say in Fairies it's not the worst. In a Terror it's a solid matchup, and against Red it's a fine matchup.
Yeah.
All of them three things were the next three best decks, and it's like you can sort of eventually like get to a point where you might be like it's not like an like a High Tide versus Jund Wildfire matchup where the Jund Wildfire matchup basically is like a auto lose, like that sort of level, but it's definitely like not a favoured matchup because all their threats are better than yours.
I think compared to the Mardu, this is not as stone cold dead to it because we do have the 4 Journey to Nowheres. There's Thraben Charms as well. There's counter spells, so like you have a lot more outs to it. But if it resolves and you don't have a journey, for example, like it's gonna be a tough time of chump blocking for an eternity.
Yeah, you basically just have to try and Basilisk Gate race it or get in the air and hope that you guys are big enough and be well established by then. But it's hard ask.
Sort of damages the race as well because if you don't have exactly Squadron Hawk, they just block your guy with a spawn and sack it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you don't even gain the life. But yeah, it's really cool to see Colgate's obviously winning out again. I imagine this means we'll probably see it more on Modo, but
hopefully.
We'll see.
I think the big thing that's gone from the lists of old, to be fair, is there's no Guardians, which makes sense. Obviously, when the biggest thing was a colourless creature, makes sense for sure, but pretty interesting that obviously that's the card that sort of took the cut.
Yeah, I suppose you're not having to fight as much removal now either. Like you're not having to fight Snuff Out, for example, anymore. So you can just focus on these like Sacred Cats, or you can bolt it. Okay, I'll just play again.
Yeah.
Or the Squadron Hawks that bring themselves out, or the medics that draw cards. Like you're just replacing it with something else rather than having to completely blank it because there's so much. I guess maybe the Gardens list that we were talking about before might be awkward because they do just the actual noob list, which is just a pile of removal.
Yep.
Might be awkward, but yeah, it's far in between nowadays.
For sure. Anything else you want to cover? Do you want to cover the Rally Red? Rally Red being the mono red deck of choice here.
I think it was quite sweet that Rally Red sort of made the resurgence and obviously came third here. It had an absolutely abysmal matchup on camera against Colgate. But yeah, I guess it was a shame to see it all grouped in the mono red synth category because it didn't really show like what was what, because this deck obviously is quite different to the mono red synth. With obviously the Bushwhackers, the Burning Trees, and the Rally at the Hornbergs being the main standouts. So you're basically like 12 cards different than Synth on the rip. And then this one also ran 2 Ginger Brutes, which is quite a sweet one. Sort of pseudo unblockable, just another 1 mana guy that has haste.
And also a guy you can play if you don't have like you can play off the green from Burning Tree, which is quite nice.
True, yeah. Actually gives some use to that mana.
Because
if you don't have the Rally.
Everything by the Rally in the Burning Tree, you can't, like, you can only cast on the red half, right?
There's Rally and Reckless Impulse.
I guess that Reckless Impulse as well,
that use the mana efficiently or more Burning Trees, but you do see it go to waste quite a lot.
So yeah, pretty cool.
Sideboard wise, there's nothing sort of massively stand out. It's a bit odd. There's like a few one-offs, like the one Relic of Progenitus sort of is a weirdo to me. But yeah, six Rebs, 4 End of Festivities, which seems pretty reasonable, and then 2 Smash, 1 Flare and Pain, 1 Relic, and 1 extra Rend Resolve just in case you need it.
Yep. The incorrect thing is obviously if that's the case, they should have a 2-2 split, you know. You never know. You never
Oh, in the
know.
main.
Yeah, should have 2-2 split, so they never know how many copies you're running.
True.
Come on, technically correct.
Yeah, it's a sweet one.
Yeah. Moving on, just quickly on the Ultratron, nothing too out the ordinary. I don't know how normal Malevolent Rumble is now, but it seems very normal. I'm almost certain it used to be like a mono black deck with like insights and offerings and stuff like that. So I don't know if this is new technology or if it's recent technology or whatever. But the 4 Rumbles in the main seem absolutely incredible, filling your graveyard and getting whichever permanent you need.
It seems very, very good in this deck when basically the only things it doesn't hit is the 3 other Rumbles and the 4 Insights, which you don't mind putting in your graveyard.
Yeah.
It hits literally everything else in the deck. Yeah, I like it. It's nice to see, like, it always seems like we see Ultratron do well at Geddon.
Yeah.
I can't remember which Geddon it top 8 like not too long ago, like maybe a couple Geddons ago. And always seems to be just like one person jamming it in the mix.
Yeah. Pre-Packdoll as well, like it was obviously nowhere to be seen on Magic Online because obviously it was so hard to kill with makeshift munitions. But obviously I think that around that time it like won again as well for that, which is pretty sweet. Everywhere, like Ultratron's obviously got a beloved following and it's a solid deck, I guess. Obviously got a lot more tools with Rumble, Packdoll, and Kinsmith as well in recent times.
Definitely. But yeah, it was a sweet event overall. The coverage was fantastic. It was great to watch. Obviously we've ended up with a really pretty nice top 16, very varied. Only 1 Jund Wildfire, which is quite impressive from it being the most registered deck. Yeah, sweet one. Be hard to top it for the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Also, last note as well, the 6th and 7th green-red ramps. Obviously, I'm not really too fussed about going to the list. They're not that different. That they have got interesting cards in. Like, these lists are not what we've not seen before. Like, one's running Sagu, Wildling, and Annoyed Altasaur and stuff like that. Like, there's slight interests in, like, obviously Thermocast on the side. But the main thing I wanted to point out was the fact that 3 green-red monsters day 2'd. And two of them
top 8'd.
And 2 of them top 8'd, which is pretty good going.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for a note as well, I've noted a lot of people have said that basically the reason the top 8 looks like this is due to a lot of Jund Wildfire players cutting Toxin. Like most of the lists didn't have any Toxins in the 75 at all. Because all these apparently good Toxin matchups, whatever, Terror, etc., all that sort of stuff. My main belief is actually that the deck is just misbuilt from the get-go, and they put themselves into beating the mirror and ended up in the draw bracket. That is basically...
And watch T-Cell's video for more information.
And watch my video for more information. But yeah, that is basically, I believe, why there's no Jund. They just ended up in the draw brackets a lot because they can't finish games. Yeah. But yeah, sweet to see. Sweet event. Sweet to see the 2 green-red ramp decks as well. In the top 8. Pretty cool changes, but yeah, pretty sweet all round. Like this top 8 is like a blast from the past. Even the top 16's like all these decks like you don't see very often, we don't get to talk about very often, ended up doing incredibly well. So shout out to obviously Boost for all the events, all the coverages. Shout out to Will, Adaptor, Emma, Heisen, literally everyone on the panel. It was a great watch. It was a great event to follow. Yeah. And the fact that they basically uncapped it as well, went above the 750 they normally do, got over 1,000 players. I am really hyped to see how big they go for the next one. They had a big announcement, I believe, that is it in Eternal Weekend or something this time around?
Yeah.
The next one in November is on the Friday, Saturday of Eternal Weekend, which is pretty gas. Pretty cool to see. That'll be a massive place for all the Eternal Weekend players, all the Pauper players, all the Legacy, Vintage, whatever. Whatever goes on there, it's pretty sick to see. For sure. Anything else you'd like to add before moving to hot takes?
No, I'm happy to move on.
Yeah, so touch on the hot takes. We'll obviously just rattle through these. They were all no's. We had some couple closes, but they were all no's. First listener was Pinnyhead. High Tide is going to be one of the most represented decks and best performing decks. That was a no. It was about 4% of the meta, and literally the top 16 was the best it did with 1.
Yeah.
Didn't have a massive conversion rate either. Had 46 and 8. The next one is there'll be at least, if not more, mono white aggros in the top 16. That was by Dacius Terror. That was an unfortunate one. I don't know what happened to White Weenie. White Weenie had 27 day 1 and 5 day 2. So not the worst conversion rate. And just obviously fell off from the top 32. Pretty unfortunate showing, because I think the deck's pretty well positioned right now. The next one is that Jack will come 9th at Geddon. And Jack, you did not come to your own hot take, unfortunately. You were not playing Mono Red Dredge. Sad times. Reese is, I guess I'll do yours as well, which it seems weird to do, but Cycle Storm will top 8. That was unfortunate. And bonus if Cornetto is pilot. That is a no. Cornetto didn't even attend the event either, which was a big sadge.
Weak.
I know, get him told. My first hot take was that Jund Wildfire will be the highest day 1 deck representation. He'll have the highest day 2 conversion and have 0 in the top 8. I was so close. No, it wasn't the highest day 2 representation, which was a bit sad. Well,
you needed to
really.
hit on it more and just be like, it's going to have the highest day 1 and then just drop off completely.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't go hard enough. Then Reese's deck to win was a new Rod deck. Was in the contention. Obviously, we had Mardu Synth, sort of new. And then the most represented deck was Jund Wildfire. Clearly, he had too much faith in Jund Wildfire. Mine was the deck to win was Elves. I was hoping and praying. That was not the case. I don't even know where Elves was. And then the most represented deck in the top 8 was High Tide. I was joining the hype train of High Tide will take over the format, but that did not happen. Pretty unfortunate.
So we had so many hot takes, and absolutely all of them were wrong.
Yes. But that's besides the point. Still come listen to the podcast because we're always right. Just not on hot takes. It's the reason they're hot, because they're not always right. I don't know where I'm going with that. Moving on to hot takes for next week. Just a thing, there's no hot takes from the listeners this week because we're all focused on doing the Pop Again ones. We'll also not be recording next week as well. I am away, so that will not be happening. So we'll do our own hot takes, and then we'll pick it back up a week later.
Mine is sort of just a pinned one anyway. And it's that High Tide will not be banned and will be taken off trial in the next announcement after the result from Paupergeddon.
I wouldn't be surprised if the just come out early instead of early, like come out earlier than August, because obviously it's just might as well. It's obvious it's not going to get banned now. Hopefully, you like to think so, anyways.
Well, I don't think it should be.
No, I don't think so either. Anyways. My hot take is that Corgate will make a resurgence in challenges following the win. I feel like that's like the lowest fruit hanging, so it's kind of a lukewarm take. But I feel like I'd almost had a hot take that I need to feel what it feels like to get one right. That's what it is. Anything else you would like to add?
No, I'm good.
Thank you all for your continued support. If you have enjoyed this amazing episode talking about Paupergeddon, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local Pauper community, and even your Spanish bartenders, your tapas givers, your cider givers. Bet you can't guess where I'm going. That is all from us at Casting Commons. Until next time, and don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace!
Bye.